They say every dreamer gets laughed at until they win. He wasn't born in a big city, no silver spoon, no famous last name, just a cracked ceiling above his bed, a second-hand notebook, and a dream too big for the small minds around him. He was 14, awkward, quiet, the kind of kid who got overlooked. But inside he saw something, something massive, something that could change lives. One day in school, the teacher asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" The usual answers echoed through the room. Doctor, engineer, TikTok star. But when it was his turn, he stood up, heart pounding, palms sweating, and said loud and clear, "I want to build a company that helps people all over the world." The room went silent for half a second. Then came the laughter. One kid threw a crumpled paper ball at him. Another shouted, "Bro, you can't even pass math." Even the teacher chuckled, not cruelly, but in that quiet way adults sometimes do when they've already given up on your potential. She said, "That's ambitious. Let's stick to realistic goals, okay?" He sat down, face burning, heart cracked. That night he didn't eat dinner, didn't finish homework, just lay on his bed, eyes wide open, asking himself a question no 14-year-old should have to ask. What if they're right? The next day he left his notebook at home. He stopped talking about ideas, stopped showing his sketches, stopped dreaming out loud. Because sometimes the world doesn't kill your dream with violence. It kills it with mockery, with sarcasm, with silence. Weeks passed. He kept his head down, didn't raise his hand, didn't try, not in class, not in life. He started believing the voices, the laughter, the limits. But deep down, a tiny part of the dream survived, faint, flickering, but alive. In the world, the same world that laughed, it had no idea what was coming. Rock bottom doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. It hides in routine, in waking up tired, working jobs you hate, forgetting what it felt like to believe in anything. At 17, he was working night shifts, dishwasher in a rundown diner where the grease never left your skin. His clothes always smelled like burned oil, his shoes were torn, and his fingers had permanent cracks from hot water and cheap soap. His classmates were prepping for college. He was saving tips in a coffee jar just to pay rent. Every night he'd walk home alone, under flickering streetlights, past empty bus stops where dreams once sat waiting. And every now and then, the question returned like a ghost. Was this what life was going to be? One cold evening, as he passed by a back alley behind an old bookstore, he noticed something in a dumpster. A book, torn, wet, nearly unreadable. But the title stopped him, Build or Be Broken. Something about it gripped him. He fished it out, wiped off the dirt, and carried it home like it was made of gold. The next few nights he read the surviving pages by candlelight because the power had been cut again. He couldn't afford Wi-Fi, but he had curiosity, and that was enough. The words hit harder than anything anyone had ever told him. You were not born to live quiet and die forgotten. No one is coming to save you. Build anyway. He didn't sleep that night. The next day he walked to the public library, signed up for a free computer session, and for the first time in years he started learning. Coding, digital marketing, entrepreneurship, AI tools, freelancing, anything that could turn him from invisible to undeniable. At first he failed at everything. Website crashed. Freelance gigs ghosted him. His first online store made $0. His second one lost him money. People laughed again, but this time he didn't hear them, because the laughter had already been replaced by something louder. Purpose. He started skipping sleep, not because hustle culture told him to, but because the idea in his head wouldn't let him rest. He borrowed an old laptop from a neighbor. He sat outside cafes after they closed, stealing bits of Wi-Fi from the parking lot. He worked in hoodies and cold weather with numb fingers and a mind on fire. He didn't post, didn't brag, didn't share screenshots. He just kept going. There were nights he cried, mornings he couldn't get out of bed, Days he wanted to give it all up. But the thought of dying with his dream still trapped inside him was worse than all the pain combined. And slowly, almost invisibly, something changed. The skills got sharper, the mindset got stronger, and that flicker of a dream started turning into a spark. It wasn't magic, it wasn't luck, it was relentless persistence, day after day, when no one else believed. The first breakthrough was small, a single sale, $12, for a digital product he created with trembling hands in a tiny room. But that $12 was his tangible proof that the dream was real and that his work mattered. He poured every cent back into his vision, bought books, courses, tools, even if it meant skipping meals. He stayed awake long after the world was asleep, learning the art of marketing, mastering the language of his audience, fine-tuning every detail until it shone. Months passed. Then the first $1,000 a month came, not from chance, but from strategy and stubbornness. His skills sharpened. His confidence grew. By the end of year 2, he was making $10,000 per month. A six-figure business was no longer a distant dream, but his reality. People who once laughed at him now watched in awe. Former friends who told him to get real sent him messages asking for advice. Relatives who doubted his path bragged to neighbors. We always knew he had something special, but behind every smile, behind every public success, was a story few saw. The late nights were filled with doubt, the mornings when hope felt like a distant memory, the sacrifices, missing birthdays, saying no to fun, working when others played. He never built his dream for applause. He built it because inside something refused to die. That unshakable belief that his life was meant for more. Today he stands not just as a successful entrepreneur, but as a beacon for those who feel invisible. He mentors young dreamers who sit in rooms just like his once was in. He donates laptops to kids who remind him of his younger self, hungry for change but stuck in silence. Millions now watch him, not because of fame, but because of authenticity, because they see themselves in his story, and more importantly, they see what's possible when you refuse to quit. Here's the truth nobody tells you. Success is not about never failing. It's about refusing to stay down. It's about standing up one more time when fear, doubt, and exhaustion scream at you to stop. If you're watching this, feeling lost or broken, I want you to know this. Your current reality is not your destiny. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need a crowd cheering you on. You don't need anyone's permission. You just need the courage to take the next step, even if it's tiny, even if it's scary, even if you can't see the whole path. Because one day those same people who laughed at your dream will watch as you rewrite the rules. And when they do, you'll smile quietly to yourself and say, they laughed at my dream, until it became the reason they stopped laughing. So keep building, keep fighting, keep dreaming, because the world is watching and your time is coming. If this story sparks something inside you, that fire you thought was gone, then don't let it die out. Take that next step today, no matter how small. Remember, the world isn't waiting for permission, and neither should you. Subscribe now for daily motivation to fuel your journey, and share this video with someone who needs to hear. Your dream is worth fighting for.